قلبه محجوب ونفسي معيوب وعقله مغلوب وهوائي غالب وطاعتي قليل ومعصيتي كثير ولساني مقر بالذنوب فكيف حيلتي يا ستار العيوب ويا علام الغيوب ويا كاشف الكروب اغفر ذنوبي كلها بحرمة محمد وآل محمد يا غفار يا غفار يا غفار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you.
The dua to end in this specific way is unbelievable. The way he starts and the way he ends it, he's telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, there's a veil on top of my heart that is causing us to sin. Oh Allah, ta'ati qaleel. My obedience towards you is little. وَمَعْصِيَتِي كَثِيرٌ. And I am sinning a lot. وَلِسَانِي مُقِرٌّ بِالذُّنُوبِ. And my tongue is constantly singing. And مُقِرٌ بِالذُّنُوب. The word مُقِر is like, it's constantly going. And it is as if it has a stamp on there that will do nothing but sin. مُقِرٌ بِالذُّنُوب. فكيف حيلتي يا ستار العيوب. What is my hila? What can I do? Oh, the one who covers defects. And the thing is, so I sin at home. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has covered over my sins, that when I am sitting here on the sofa, both of you are not aware of what I am sinning. The viewers do not know of what sins I have done. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covers over them. So everything that I just mentioned, that aqli maghloob wa hawa'i ghalib, and there's a veil on my heart, and that I am constantly sinning, and that I am being disobedient towards you, out of your mercy, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what are you doing? You're covering it from the eyes of other people. Part of His mercy.
Yeah.
And the one who knows of the unseen, وَكَاشِفَ الْكُرُوبِ, then he says, اغفر ذنوبي كلها. Look at where we have put ourselves down. And this is a lesson, by the way. This is a lesson from Amir al-Mu'mineen, that when you want to ask for forgiveness, take yourself down. Take yourself down all the way to the ground. Oh Allah, I am the one who sinned, and this is my sin. Forgive me, oh Allah. And another infallible that I love is dua is Muslim al-Abidin. And in the dua, and after all my sinning, I dare to come and ask you for forgiveness. Any of the du'as mentioned by Amir al-Mu'mineen, be this du'a special about them.
Brilliant. Beautiful.
But I think that is a perfect
any other dua that he has written, and likewise with Imam Zain al-Abidin, there's always something special about them.
Brilliant.
Beautiful.
I'm very much I was so engrossed within the conversation, I actually didn't take notes to recap. But I think that is a perfect end to this part of the show. Thank you so much once again.
God bless you. Beautiful.
For that.
Thank you.
And on that note, we are going to be joined after the break by Barak Hussein, who's going to be discussing with Zahra in the special segment. So please stay tuned. Don't go back.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Hussein TV. We just heard by Sabah from the ever wonderful brother Ibrahim, and now we're going to be welcoming someone who's really given us some good insight, informative, knowledgeable insight into sort of the mental health debates and discussions that we have, that most of us and lay people who wouldn't really, if we don't have access to, you know, people that we are aware of who are suffering from these difficulties in their life, on really what they go through. And it's been personally very informative to me. So I hope that you've been joining us every week to welcome our dear sister Zahra Hussein, who has come from Canada. She is a psychotherapist and also online. You can find her as the Muslim Counselor. So join me now to welcome Sister Zahra Hussein. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you this morning?
Alhamdulillah.
Good. Did you enjoy the du'as?
Of course, always.
Alhamdulillah, good. So we're going to pick your brains. It's a very sad and heavy topic. And again, it'd be nice to hear from your perspective how prevalent this is in our community. We hear about big cases on suicidal feelings. And, you know, is it relatable to us in our community? Is it happening? And really, what kind of feelings go through a person? Are they just, you know, one day get up and they have these feelings, or is it progressive kind of?
Yeah, it is happening in our communities, just like other mental health struggles. And if not taken care of properly, it could lead to suicidal thoughts. So somebody who could be experiencing low moods, depression, symptoms around that, and feels hopeless, loss of despair, and feels that there's no way out. So it could lead to having depression, but it could also suddenly come on if, let's say, somebody experiences a shocking tragedy or something that's just too much for them to handle, and they cannot face the people, their families, their communities, their friends, whatever situation may be. They may decide then and there, I'm done, I'm taking my life, I choose not to deal with this, I can't deal with it. So there's a lot within the Islamic perspective on that in terms of halal, haram. You know, you're not supposed to, taking your life is as though you're taking somebody else's life. That's what it's looked at. I've had discussions with scholars about this and alimas, because when it comes down to it, a person who has taken their lives, their families are left in shame, and guilt, and worry, and, you know,
on top of the grief of losing someone
grief,
that they could have helped them and prevented such a tragedy. So yeah, they must go through.
And we'll look at it of how to help support. But then there's that stigma around that, and throughout the various discussions that I've had over the years, they're not fit to make a decision, a proper decision. And there wasn't. But this person is not well. How do you treat a person who's not well? With mercy. And, you know, through that and having these thoughts, we cannot be the haram police, as I say. And well, no, the person really needs validation in terms of the struggle that they're experiencing. And we cannot judge anybody who's struggling, you know, through that and having these thoughts. We cannot be the haram police, as I say, and judge and say, well, you can't have these thoughts, you can't decide to do this. And well, no, the person really needs validation in terms of the struggle that they're experiencing, and we want to take them out from that darkness into the light, to give them hope, things to live for again. And so through the therapy process, when I have students coming, clients coming and saying, you know, I don't, things could be, I'm sure our viewers could connect with some of these ideas. I don't want to live. Do
they come out and say it?
They say these words. Yeah,
you
like I will. Sometimes I will ask, because they have an intake form that they fill out, and sometimes it would be written. I've had suicidal thoughts. I don't want to live. So I will straight out ask, and sometimes if it's written there, even if it's not, when I see somebody who's dealing with depression, I have to ask for safety. Have you had thoughts of harming yourself or wanting to end your life? Like, I'll gradually get into it. Sometimes it's a yes. Sometimes it's a, you know, I don't have thoughts of killing myself, but I don't want to live. So here's the right. So I don't want to live. It's too much. I don't want to be alive. So there's a difference between I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to be alive. I want to kill myself. See, there's a difference. So some people don't want to kill themselves, but they don't want to be alive either. See the difference? It's just too much. They just don't want to exist.
So are they, generally speaking, there's an illness underlying these thoughts that are chemically based, am I correct? And then if they are saying things like that, do they really mean it? I mean, is there a scale of these thoughts that perhaps sometimes, just thinking about some views that perhaps people go through and think, you know, they have enough, you know, life gets hard, to something that's just like, you know, those people that take it forward. How does it work? How is the sort of the stages of these kind of, you know, thoughts that go process? And
well, I'm going to say something that you might find shocking, but we've all had thoughts of not wanting to be alive. There's a difference of that in terms of sometimes things get too much, or we'd rather be in Jannah, you know, we'd rather not deal with the struggles of life. There are these passing thoughts that we have.
And that's
normal in the sense that it's, I don't think much of it. It's just you feel so tired sometimes, you just feel like, I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to exist, you know, dealing with these issues. We've had these thoughts. But I mean, if somebody is dealing with depression and whatnot, we definitely want to address that because it could develop into something further. The issue when they come to you in an off conversation, we take it further and say, do you have a plan? It becomes more prevalent and something you want to focus more on when people are saying things when they come to you in an off conversation. You still want to check it out, but when they're coming to you and trying to get treatment and saying, I don't want to live, you know, I've had suicidal thoughts. So we take it further and say, do you have a plan?
Yeah.
Some say, no, I haven't thought of how. Some say, yeah, I have.
Wow.
It could range from overdosing with pills to,
so
I'm not giving ideas here.
No, but they go through a process in the mind of how
they do it. When they hang themselves, throw themselves off the bridge, there's a bridge near our university. So you hear things like that. That is alarming for a counselor to hear. Okay, so there's, and I have to do that. So the next question I would ask is this something you could do, you would do after you leave here today? Most of the time it's no, I wouldn't do it. My next question would be, what holds you back?
Yeah.
Most of the time, if it's somebody from a religious background, whether they're Muslim or not, would say God. My religion does not allow it. And I hear that right away. Usually the first answer with Muslim is, my religion does not allow it. So that's a good thing. It holds something is keeping them from getting to that point. My friends and family, I would never want to disappoint my family. Too much for my family to experience that. So that holds them as well. I had clients say, there's so much to live for. There's so much work I want to do with my humanitarian degree. There's hope there. And what I say is, do not, there's always, sorry, it's a good saying, I'm just trying to remember how I say it properly. Suicide is a permanent solution, a temporary problem. Don't base your decision a permanent solution to in life right now. You have not always been this way. You will not always be that way. This is right. Work with the right now. And so we have this assist training, which is a suicide training out. And anybody can take this training, not just counselors. And it's designed to help you go from being hopeless now. So let's work with the right now. And so we have this assist training, which is a suicide training or assistant to get people out. And anybody can take this training, not just counselors. And it's designed to help you go from being hopeless to help you look at things worth living for. So we go through that process in the counseling session. Now, going back to what you were describing in terms of is this a chemical imbalance and whatnot, it leads back to depression. What is depression? We said come back to not taking stress perhaps, or it's a predisposition that's been triggered, right? And the other aspect here we looked at is also sudden huge changes in your life, tragic, sad, that you can, you know, loss of money in the stock market, or you lost your job, you cannot provide for your family. Something horrendous happened to you, you just shut down, you feel you cannot cope, you can't face the community, your family, shut down. People can make that decision as well.
How like as I was saying in the beginning, how prevalent is it in our communities?
It's happening, unfortunately, which is one of the reasons why the Serenity Islamic Mental Health Awareness Group in my community in Ottawa, it was based off of that, unfortunately. There were 2 young men in our community who took their lives. And we found out afterwards they were struggling with depression. They weren't getting the right supports.
Goodness.
And so we said enough. We want to do more awareness in the community so that people don't feel that they're hopeless and there's nothing left, lots of despair there.
What could have a community done to prevent? I mean, that's an amazing effort and initiative, but in the communities that sort of perhaps aren't so aware of mental health, struggles that people have, what more can a community do to sort of
We need
help?
to be talking about mental health, which is why it's so important we have shows like this where we talk about topics that are taboo, that are, a lot of shameful things, that are things that we're not used to hearing. Because our own religion talks about balance, inner peace, outer peace, love, akhlaq, humility. All of these things are the essence of wellness.
I think the most crucial point is the non-judgment that you said, as in your position. That I said when people unfortunately go through these circumstances, they're already suffering, and for us to then pass the judgment jury and say that's it, you're condemned, who wants to know you, and it's awful, isn't it? So
push people away. You've got somebody who's struggling coming to a center and then they don't know how to approach or talk, but when we have events in our centers, you find a slew of people who are coming at the end of the lecture and they're wanting to talk to you, ask questions, which is a wonderful thing, alhamdulillah, and then you can direct them to resources. And we want to reach out, which is why when we have shows like this, people may not come to an event because they're too depressed, or too anxious to leave the house. They get the opportunity to hear these things and resources that perhaps they can reach out, and access these resources when they are feeling low. Now, when a client comes in and we go through all of that, we also make a safety plan. And in that safety plan, we have phone numbers of people that they could turn to in that moment when they're feeling this, and what they could do instead of going to the harming themselves. And one of the things I find humorous but works is say chocolate. I see the shock look on your face. Chocolate. What is it about chocolate?
Wouldn't imagine that.
It was actually in one of the worksheets that I have. I thought, but there's a science behind it.
Right.
What happens when you eat chocolate?
Pleasure.
You feel good.
Yeah.
What is it about chocolate? There's a lot of research on chocolate. So you laugh now, but and when I go through that list with the client, they laugh too. I'm like, make sure you got lots of chocolate, on hand. There's something about chocolate that changes the mood. And it distracts you as well. It's a distraction, right? So it's designed to this whole safety plan distract you, because then it reminds you of the people that care about you and would be there for your emergency that you can get a hold of.
So friends of mine will post things like, if you feel down, or if you're going through any depression, I'm always there to listen. But in reality, how can confide in you as a friend or a relative, whoever? What's the best way to deal with somebody that's perhaps more help needs here? What are we supposed to do?
So some of the signs that you see that somebody's dealing with depression, lack of hygiene, the loss of interest in activities, not coming, attending like they used to, overeat. Some people undereat, so loss of weight, loss of pleasure in things. Correct? So these are some of the signs we said of depression over a long period of time. And could start saying things like, what's the point of my study? They used to enjoy and participation, correct? So these are some of the signs we said of depression over a long period of time. And so if that continues, the person could start saying things like, what's the point of my studies? What's the point of what I'm doing? I don't see any point in living. These are some things to watch out for. Children may exhibit that differently if they're being bullied at school. And we've heard of young children taking their lives, unfortunately. And because parents are not paying attention to the cues.
It's very difficult for parents, isn't it? There's so much that goes on in a child's life to then think, is my child being drama queen? Is my child actually...
So they need to test that out. They need to go to the school, see what's going on. I hear my daughter sometimes complaining to me about, this in the class said this. I didn't have a good day because I've given her the open space for her to feel comfortable sharing with me. Parents need to create that. And if there's something more serious, I'll pick up the phone and call the school and say, hey, this kid's picking on my kid. What's going on? Turns out this kid picks on all the kids, so it's not just isolated to her. But parents need to get off their phones when their children are around and pay attention to their needs. Why are their kids talking to them or trying to get their attention? Sometimes kids act out at school, right? because there's things going on at home that parents are not paying attention to. There are things happening at school. So you have to watch out for these things. Why are your kids turning to you? Why are you not listening to them? Please get off the phone and pay attention to your children. For example, the phone, dinner time, should be a basket away. The rule that no phones on here. Connect and associate with each other. Talk.
Isn't it odd? We have to, you know, we remind ourselves to do these things, which, you know, 10, 15 years ago wasn't even an issue. That you would, you know, meal time down, catch up. But we were literally in the last minute. But any last sort of words of advice to the viewers if they have somebody who they're concerned about what to do?
I would advise to reach out, not just how are you doing with stiff upper lip, as you say here. When you say how are you, mean it. What's going on? You want to go for coffee? Invite them out to go for dinner or coffee. Invite them over. You go over. The person is feeling isolated, feeling that nobody cares about them, feeling that there's no hope left. And what's the point? Whereas you reach out and connecting this way, as awkward as it may seem, or you feel that you're invading their space, that they're in danger. You know, that is just the thing that could pull them back. For those who are struggling, all the helplines, they are there to help you, and they are there to refer you to the appropriate resources. The Muslim Youth Help. We have Nasiha, Muslim, and it's now not for Muslims, it's for everybody, because there's been people from different backgrounds calling in. So reach out to and call and talk. The distress center call line, we have that in Ottawa. So there's all these resources when you are alone, okay, that you can reach out to and call and talk to somebody who's a professional that's trained. They can help in this matter, so you're not isolated. You just need to talk to somebody to help you get through dark moments, to see that there is hope. Like I said, this is a permanent solution for a temporary problem. You don't want to make that, you know, you don't want to have those kind of regrets, because there are people who attempt. Do not, when we say do not succeed, meaning they did not end up killing themselves. And so sometimes it's an eye-opener for them. It's an eye-opener that that was an error, that was a mistake, I don't want that, I need to get help. We don't want our friends and family getting to that point. We want to offer the non-judgmental attitude, support. Even if you don't know what to do, just be there and listen. Take them to the hospital, take them to a professional, go with them to the appointment if you can't be there to support them.
Interject where you feel appropriate.
Absolutely.
Because it's rather that than feeling, oh, I don't want to overstep my boundaries or make it awkward.
There's no boundaries in this. You're saving someone's life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.
It's just flown by again. Inshallah, people who listen to this, you know, take advice if it's anything's relevant. And again, if you want to reach out to Sister Zahra Kazmi, she is on social media and Instagram, Facebook as the Muslim Counsellor. So please do utilize those resources, and people will redirect you to where is appropriate. Inshallah, have a blessed day.
You too,
and,
sister.
Inshallah, we will now go on to another conversation with Dr. Yasir Madani, and we're discussing asthma.
Imam Hussein Media Group is a virtual university that works on a global scale to spread the true message of the Prophet and the Ahl al-Bayt, peace and blessings be upon them. Imam Hussein TV was established 10 years ago in the city of Isfahan, Iran. We work to cover all aspects of religion, Islamic jurisprudence, politics, philosophy, and many more, and aim to bring the public's attention to the righteous Islamic sect, Shia Islam. Our ultimate goal as a media group is to convey the interpretations of the Holy Quran, as well as the traditions and knowledge of the Holy Prophet and his progeny, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon them. Our objectives are to protect and safeguard the Shia youth from the destructive impact of immoral ideologies, standing up against injustice by documenting the oppression of Shia across the globe, as well as encouraging peace and unity amongst the Muslims. To reach our aims and serve the Muslim Ummah, we require a budget that would cover all the expenses for our productions, allowing us to work on different projects. Imam Hussein Media Group is a crowd-funded project. We have no sales, nor do we charge for our services. We solely rely on monthly payments, financial contributions, donations, religious alms, and generous gifts. The expenses of each production varies depending on the type of project and the style of filming. There are many elements to a production that requires time and capital. The producer must analyze the costs of the venue hire, equipment, transport, each fees, set design, staff support and further additional costs. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, narrated, "The best of people is he from whom people benefit." It is up to you to help the Muslim Ummah come together and help guide the youth in remaining on the correct path of Islam. To take part in this global conquest and to spread the message of Imam Hussein, peace and blessings be upon him, please visit www.imamhussein3.tv or give us a call on +44 0203 515 0199. You can also contact us via WhatsApp, Telegram, SMS, or even email us on donate@imamhussein.tv. Let's work together hand in hand to elevate the faith of our Shia youth today.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV, and we are in another segment of Morning Baraka. I hope that you've so far. It's going to get much more interesting as we kind of delve into the respiratory system, specifically the lungs, and the anatomy of the lungs and the diseases associated with the lungs and so on and forth. I don't want to get technical, but...
Did you know there was so much to it?
No.
So
I just thought it was just these two pieces of muscle, and then they air in, and then air goes out, and then there's something to do with CO2 and then and oxygen and whatever. But turns out there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it.
And there's still a lot more. So please do keep joining us for these segments. And would like to welcome,
of course,
who, Ali?
We're welcoming, as always, Dr. Sayyid Yasser Madani to the show. He's an expert in this field. We're privileged. Your line of work, it's very hectic. So finding that. So yes, we should, today we'll be focusing on actually honoured to have you here, so thank you so much. We appreciate that. Of course, when it comes to your line of work, it's very hectic. So finding that time to come to be with us, is it's great to have you. Thank you.
Yes,
of course, assalamu alaikum. So yes, we should, today we'll be focusing on a condition that is known to a lot of people, but maybe we kind of want to have a bit more of an insight into the ins and outs of asthma. A lot of kids kind of develop this asthma. We kind of want to debunk some myths around asthma and kind of focus on the areas within this that help people manage the condition, what to do, what not to do. So, so for those who don't know, what is asthma?
So if our viewers remember, when we talked about the anatomy of the lungs, we talked about tubes as being part of the lungs, and that lead to the air sacs and the tissue around the air sacs. So asthma is an airway disorder. It's a problem with the tubes in the lungs. People who have asthma, their airways are sensitive to certain environmental triggers and others, which others without asthma wouldn't react in the same way.
Right.
So those triggers can include pollen, it can include dust, it can include smoke or cigarette smoke, it can include viruses. So having a common cold in you and I often will not cause any problem. We'll just have a common cold and it goes. With an asthmatic, they're more prone for that common cold to actually exacerbate their asthma and cause an asthma attack, make their asthma worse, asthma symptoms worse. Heightened emotions can make asthma as well. If we have time, we can talk briefly about the mechanism of that. Later, sometimes can actually exacerbate asthma symptoms. Because if you imagine when you're laughing a lot, you're actually breathing through the mouth rather than through the nose, and breathing through the mouth doesn't humidify the air, whereas breathing through the nose through the nose, essentially. Mouth breathing is not normal. We actually create breathe through the nose, and the nose has a mechanism by which it humidifies the air from the outside. And that sharp air that's not humidified, it's dry, goes down in the lungs and can make it worse. Exercise. So we were created to breathe through the nose, essentially. Mouth breathing is not normal. We actually create to breathe through the nose, and the nose has a mechanism by which it humidifies the air, because the air is not humidified from the outside. And that sharp air that's not humidified, it's dry, goes down in the lungs and can make it worse. Exercise. So some people have exercise-induced asthma, or just those that have ordinary asthma. Any exercise can potentially bring on asthma symptoms, because you're playing football, you're running, etc. You're breathing in harsh, cold, dry air. that can exacerbate the asthma. So lots of different triggers. What happens in the body actually, and we've got a diagram for viewers, so actually we've got that round structure, which is the airway, the airway wall. You can see it's nice and thin, the red muscle, that smooth muscle that we're talking about. And the very thin membrane, where the lumen, within the inside of the airway, is called that wall of the airway. And so the inner passage, the lumen, is very patent. It's wide, it's open, you can breathe. That's a normal airway. Yeah. In asthma, if we can please bring on the second diagram, what happens is the smooth muscle contracts, it becomes tightened. As it becomes tightened, it becomes thicker and takes up more from the inside of the inner passage. The thin membrane, the blue part, becomes thicker as well because it becomes inflamed. And also that then produces mucus and secretions into the airway, so you can see how much the caliber or the patency of the airway has reduced. All right? So that's why it becomes difficult to breathe. And the symptoms of asthma are difficulty breathing or breathlessness or shortness of breath, tightness of the chest, tightness of the chest because of what's happening. The chest becomes tight. So it's not heart problems, it's actually the airway tighter causing chest tightness, and wheeze, which is a noise breathed out. There's difficulty in breathing out in asthma. So there's what we call air trapping. Air is trapped in the lungs because it's difficult to breathe out because the airways have become tight. And cough. Those are the predominant 4 symptoms of asthma.
Can I quickly ask you, so just looking at that, it's visualising what happens to asthmatics, and obviously I don't know if you know anybody, Ali, that has it. We have children in our family that have it, and I think one of my nephews has a lot of allergies. To see a child go through, the whole struggling, that's actually quite informative to know that's what happens to them. Now, you mentioned about sort of the physiology of the lungs. So you're saying airways, are they the main that those muscles, or are they going into the smaller, as it branches out? Are these?
Alveoli?
Yeah. Alveoli.
Okay.
Trachea.
It's affecting
parts that go into the lung, that those muscles, or are they going into the smaller, as it branches out? Are these?
Alveoli?
Yeah, so the alveoli.
Alveoli.
I'm impressed that you remember the alveoli. So alveoli are the air sacs. So asthma doesn't really affect the alveoli.
Okay.
Trachea.
It's affecting not so much the trachea. Trachea is the main pipe, but actually the smaller, slightly smaller. So the bronchi are even smaller than that. Start getting smaller and constricted. So asthma affects the medium to small airways.
Right.
And they get tighter and give rise to these symptoms. Now, things to watch for asthmatics. It's really important for them to control their asthma and to prevent it getting worse, because if they don't control their asthma, it can culminate into an asthma attack or exacerbation, as we call it, an asthma attack. That's what you want to prevent, because there's a lot of morbidity and mortality associated with asthma.
Really?
Some people do die in the UK.
Who's more prone to get it? Children? Do they develop as children, or can adults get it later in life? Who's sort of more?
So some people have asthma in childhood.
Okay.
All right, and some of those people grow out of their asthma and it never comes back.
Okay.
Some of them grow out of their asthma, but it comes back later in adult life. Some of them don't grow out of their asthma and it stays for the rest of their life.
Okay.
It's difficult to predict what category child is going to be in.
Yeah.
That type of asthma, which starts in childhood, often is called atopic asthma.
Okay.
Asthma, we think of asthma more now as a syndrome rather than as a specific disease entity. There's different types of asthma. I don't want to get too much into this because it's slightly a bit more technical.
Yeah.
But one of these entities, or as we describe them medically as phenotypes, is atopic asthma, which means allergic asthma. So these people often have hay fever, eczema, food allergies, etc.
Okay.
They're allergic as well. And hay fever, their asthma can get worse. Late onset or adult onset asthma. In elderly people to develop asthma. So But it's also possible for people to have never had asthma as a child and actually develop late onset or adult onset asthma later in life, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Wow.
It's possible even in elderly people to develop asthma. Often that's not atopic asthma.
Yeah.
The treatment is by and large, but I think in several years down the line, we will hopefully have more personalized medicine by which we can actually tailor treatment to different types of asthma that people have.
Yeah.
So again, that's a bit outside the scope of this discussion.
So we've seen, you know, what happens to the actual body with a person that has asthma, and you mentioned also sort of the asthma attack as well. It seems to be quite a frightening situation. How so this is going to be quite relevant to kind of parents and even to the younger children as well who have asthma. How do you recognise and manage?
Very good question. Very good. So the symptoms we mentioned, those are the four main symptoms: cough, often dry cough, unless someone has an infection, but generally it's a dry cough with asthma. Wheeze, chest tightness, breathlessness. If people are having these symptoms in the day, if people are waking up from these symptoms at night, if these symptoms are interfering with people's daily activities, such as losing time off work, losing time off school, or if it's affecting their, going shopping or whatever, their chores, or if they're using their reliever inhaler. We speak about the two types of inhaler later, inshallah. The reliever inhaler, if they're using that, their emergency inhaler, more than three times or more a week, then their asthma is not well controlled. So that's the thing that they need to know. Their asthma is not well controlled, and they need to get on top of their asthma, because if they don't, then they will develop an asthma attack. Now, generally speaking, the asthma attack doesn't happen just like that.
Yeah.
It's a culmination of several days to weeks of poor asthma control that then develops into an asthma attack.
Is an attack, sorry, like a panic? Or
no, so an asthma attack is when they have very acute onset of symptoms, which are worse. All right, so that the way, in answer to your question, the way we recognize poor asthma control is this. And actually, when these symptoms get actually very worse, we don't get worse just like that.
Right.
They get worse over a period of poor asthma control. But people either have not managed the poor asthma control and have just buried it under the carpet. And
حي على الفلاح الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم